Vincent.
Thì trong sen này nè.
Thank you, Brother Vincent. Namo Buddhaya, Sukhi Hotu, and good evening to Bhante, brothers and sisters in the Dharma. My name is Amara from BMSM YS, and I'm your MC for today. Welcome to another episode of Exploring Your Reality series, which happens on the first Saturday of every month. Today, we have a very interesting and insightful topic, which is on the Satipatthana Sutta, Path to Awakening. We will start off today's session with requesting for 3 refuges and 5 precepts, then followed by meditation. And right after that, we will continue with the sharing and Q&A session. For now, let us settle down our minds, and may I invite Brother BMSM to request for 3 refuges and 5 precepts from Bhante.
Aham Bhante tisaranena saha panca silam dhammam yajjami anugaham katva silam deta me Bhante. Tutiyampi aham Bhante tisaranena saha panca silam dhammam yajjami anugaham katva silam deta me Bhante. Tatiyampi aham Bhante tisaranena saha panca silam dhammam yajjami anugaham katva silang deta me Bhante.
Yamahang vadami tam vadeta.
Ama Bhante.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dhammang saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Sangham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi dhammang saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi sangham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammang saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi sangham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi.
Tisaranena gamanang paripurnaṃ.
Amma Bhante.
Pānātipātā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Pānātipātā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Suramaraya majja pamadatthāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Sura miraya majja pamadatthāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyāmi.
Idame silang asava khaya wahang hotu.
Idame silang asawa kaya waham hontu.
Idame silang nibbānassa pacayo hotu.
Idame silang nibbānassa pacayo hotu.
Tisaranena saha panca silang dhammang sadukang katva apamadena sampadeta.
Amma Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Today I will do something different. For the meditation part, I would guide you all as much as possible on all the mindfulness practice in the Satipatthana Sutta. Okay, so basically there are 4 parts: the body, feeling, mind, and mental object. Body has a bit more variation. Body has the breath, posture, foulness of different parts of the body, 4 elements, and the channel contemplation, the different decomposition of the corpse. We won't do that, okay? So we will start with the the breath, which is the easiest. I will lead you through the 16, roughly in an easy way through the 16 steps in the breath. So first, relax the whole body, totally relax your body. Drop all your thinking by feeling your body. Keep the back straight, but relax so that you are alert. Put your attention on your breath. Just know the breath going in. Know the breath going out. Don't control the breath. Just allow the breath to be. If it is long, just know that it's long. If it's short, just know it's short. If there are wandering thoughts, it's okay as long as you don't get lost in it. But the moment you know that you're lost in it, actually you're out of it. Just continue with the breath. Both, whether it's long or short, it's just relative. Just know the breath as it goes in, as it goes out. Notice that body becomes calmer as the breath, as you pay attention on the breath. As you pay attention on the breath, also aware that you have different feelings, sometimes gross feelings, sometimes subtle feelings. Continue to maintain your attention on the breath. Also aware that the feeling starts to calm down as you maintain your attention on the breath. Don't use any force. Just lightly aware of the breath. As you're aware of the breath, notice the mind also calm down, becomes more steady. Continue to aware of the breath as much as possible. Now aware that actually the breath is breathing you. There's no one actually breathing. It's just a process. You are not really actually operating the breath. The breath is actually breathing you. There's no one that's breathing. Okay. From the breath, aware of your posture. I guess most of you are sitting. Just aware of your sitting posture, especially the part of your body, or maybe the buttock or the legs that's touching the chair or the cushion. Just aware that you are sitting, you're not standing or running. Aware that because of the position of the feelings of the contact of your body with the chair or with the cushion, gives you the idea that I am sitting. But actually, it's a process of different muscles, different parts of the body maintaining a specific posture. The identity comes in through our interpretation. Okay, next we go to the foundness of the different parts of the body. There are 32 parts, but we only do the exterior 5 parts. Put your attention aware of your hair of your head. You have to do a bit of visualization. Imagine you put all your hair of your head in front of you. You will see that that's not you. And it also is unsatisfactory. You can't find the self in the hair of the head. And also it's not something that desirable with the hair of the head alone in front of you. Similarly, we move to the hair of the body. If you cut off all the hair of the body and put it in front of you, it's not something desirable, and you can't find the self in there. From the hair of the body, we move to the nails. Similarly, the same thing. If you cut off your nails and put in front of you, you can't find the self, and it's not something that we love to hold on to, cling on to. Next, the teeth. Similarly, if you put all your teeth in front of you, you can't find the self or the I, and it's also not something we want to cling on to. Finally, the skin of the body. Similarly, if you put all the skin, you can't find the self or the I, and it's not something that's desirable. From the foundness of the parts of the body, we move to the last mindfulness of the body, the 4 elements. Aware of the earth, water, fire, wind element in the body, the whole body as a whole. By feeling the characteristic, you might feel the hardness of the bones or skull, the heaviness of the whole body sitting on the chair or cushion, or the roughness of your teeth, or the softness of your cheeks, the smoothness of your tongue, or lightness of your fingers, or any parts that you can feel this characteristic of earth element in the body. The water element is the fluidity of the tears, saliva, nose fluid, sweat, or the cohesive characteristic of all these water elements. Fire element, just heat and water and coldness in the body. And wind element, the supporting, feeling your body being supported so that you can sit straight, and the pushing characteristic to allow you to move. Just aware of the characteristic of these four elements in the body, that we are actually made up of just four elements. The self that we give the identification to is just four elements that's arising and passing away. From mindfulness of the body, we will do very short mindfulness of feeling. Just put your attention, this is an emotional feeling, put your attention in your heart, aware of any feelings that you have, pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, or body sensation also okay. Neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling. It could be body sensations or emotions. Just aware, without judging. See also how we identify with the feelings. There's just feelings as energy arising and passing, maybe sharp sensation on the hand, on the leg, but we identify it with like, my hand is painful or so on. Just aware of the sensations without identification, or see how we identify with the feelings or sensations. We constantly have pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant feelings. But we identify with it and get lost with it often. Just aware without labeling, without getting lost in the feelings. Okay, next, we move to the mind. Just aware of your mental state, whether your mind is bright, alert, or maybe cloudy. Maybe the mind is focused or distracted. Maybe the mind is filled with passion or filled without passion, with aversion or without aversion, with delusion or without delusion. Just aware of your mind. Whatever mind you have at the moment, it's just energy, but we identify with it. If you can just aware, just know it's energy, you won't get lost in it. Finally, the mental state. We'll do just one. Just aware whether you have restlessness in your mind, or sleepiness, or doubt, wondering whether I'm doing right or wrong, any ill will or sensual desire in the mental state. Again, all these are just different states of energy, but we often label and identify with it. Okay, just feel your body. You can feel your body. Just slowly open your eyes. Okay, we did a bit quick because I just want to get you a few of the different mindfulness that is stated in the Satipatthana. Okay, when you have time, you can learn in more detail. But we will talk about the theory later. Before we go into the text, today is a bit technical because I will go basically all the important line by line in the text. But before we go there, I want to play a video on mindfulness, a more light-hearted, so that at least you get more relaxed before we go into the deeper end. So we'll play a short animated video on this is a very general idea of mindfulness, but it goes at least it gives you an idea how to have a start. Although this is not the full aim of Buddhism, but it's a good starting. Ping Sing, we can play the video.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. So I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Okay, so basically in summary, if you are aware of your body, your feeling, your mind, and so on, there is a gap between you and the situation. Basically, you are able to choose how to respond instead of reacting to the situation. Okay, so that's how mindfulness helps us in the daily life, side benefit. But the major benefit in the end is for awakening. Okay, and I will show you through the sutta. Let's have the first slide, please. Ping Sing. Got to move to the first slide. Okay, this is the first slide. Okay, so why is this Satipatthana Sutta so important? It's actually a major sutta in the Theravada text, because Satipatthana basically means the foundation of mindfulness or awareness. Okay, so one of the reasons is because of this line, Ekāyano ayaṃ bhikkhave maggo. Okay, this one very important because some people translate as this is the only way. Eka means one, yano is like the vehicle, ayaṃ is this, bhikkhave maggo is the path. Some people describe it as the only path, but I would prefer the direct path because it will directly lead you towards what, which is basically towards awakening, but there's a few other factors along the way. So sattānaṃ visuddhiyā, which is the purification of beings. And what we mean by purification of being is it purifies us from the delusional view tainted by our filter of opinion, judgment, belief, and background. Because normally, I mentioned this on my Friday night talks, normally we don't see things as they are. We see things as what we are. We see things through the filter of our opinion, judgment, belief, and so on. So we only see a narrow picture of the world, and we need to be purified from this. Because we see a narrow picture of the world, that's why we have suffering. So for the overcoming, for the next one, sokaparidevānaṃ samatikkamāya, which is the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, or you overcome this sorrow and lamentation. You will overcome this if you see that all the experience we have, which I keep stressing in many of my sharing, comes from stories created by your thoughts. When you see that you are generating all your sorrow and lamentation, not too difficult for you to overcome it. Basically, if you see you are slapping yourself, you won't continue slapping yourself, okay? Then the next one, dukkhadomanassānaṃ atthaṅgamāya, the extinguishing of suffering and grief, okay? If you really see that your thoughts are creating all your suffering, again, you will solve it. And I always give this example. There's a big difference between my hand is very painful and I'm going to die, then there is a sharp sensation on the hand. So if you see how life works, how your feelings, your sufferings all come from your mental creativity, then you can extinguish the suffering and grief. The next one, ñāyassa adhigamāya, for walking on the path of the truth. That is to see things as they really are, okay? Not through the thought-created world. Normally, we see things through our thought-created world. And then nibbānassa sacchikiriyāya, which is the whole aim for the realization of nibbāna, which is the awakening to the reality, awakening from our dream of delusion, awakening to our delusion that things are permanent, things are perfect, and there is a solid, non-changing I. So you awaken to see that actually there is no permanent, non-changing I. The idea of this self keep changing, so there's actually no identity, you get rid of this identity crisis because there is no real, permanent, non-changing you. Okay, next slide, please. This is another line that's very important. At the end of this sutta, the Buddha say, Yohi koci bhikkhave, indeed monks, ime cattāro satipaṭṭhānā, this four foundation of mindfulness or fourfold establishment of awareness. Evaṃ bhaveya means those who practice. Pali is put the other way compared to English. Satta vasani is 7 years. So if you practice this for 7 years, two things will happen. Dasa duinam palananam, two fruits. Anyantaram palam, either one. Patikkaṅkaṅ means he will expect either one of these two results. Diteva dame anya, in this very life, he will get the highest, okay, diteva dame anya satiwa upadise se anagamita. So the first one, ditewa dhamma anya, is he will be able to get the Dhamma is the wisdom, anya dhamma is highest wisdom. So you'll be able to see the highest wisdom, which is translated as the Arahant. Satiwa upadise se anagamita. Okay, you will be able to see the word anagami here. That means if there is any leftover defilements, he will at least become anagami, which is the non-returner. So this is another important part of the sutta, which Buddha promised, guarantee. If you practice this for 7 years, definitely you either become an arahat or anagami. Not even the first stage. This is the last 2 stages. And Buddha continue on. I didn't quote here. Not need 7 years. If you practice diligently, 7 months, you will achieve this. No need 7 months, 7 weeks also can. No need 7 weeks, 7 days also can, if you practice diligently. Okay, but there are a lot of conditions you need to follow. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so why we will be able to do all that to awaken to the reality is because there's another sutta, Rohitassa Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, book 4, which the Buddha says, I say, friend, that by traveling one cannot know, see, or reach the end of the world, where one is not born, does not grow old and die, does not pass away and yet get reborn. Yet I say that without having reached the end of the world, that means no need to reach the end of the world. There is no making of end of suffering. It is in this phantom long body, endowed with perception and mind. So in this body itself, through understanding this body of yours together with its perception and mind, you will be able to understand the world. The world is the world you live in, the origin of the world, the cessation of the world, the way leading to the cessation of the world. So that's how mindfulness of the body, feeling, mind, and mental object is important. Because just by understanding yourself, you will be able to understand the world you live in. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Before I go on, actually, I just want to stress that for every discourse by the Buddha, every time Buddha gives a discourse, there are many, many people who got enlightened, but every single being hear a different angle of what Buddha says. Buddha has this ability to preach as if he's preaching to every single individual. Every single individual will see a different angle, but yet through that, each individual different angle, they can get enlightened or awakening. So similarly, I can only share with you one angle that I see. Okay, you might see different angles. There might be many different angles, but hopefully by sharing with you one angle, you will be able to get a glimpse, and then maybe you your own self can explore, see different angles. So I won't claim that this is the only angle to see what Buddha shared with us. So, okay, now, what is the 4 foundation of mindfulness? After saying how important it is, now we reach into what is the 4 foundation of mindfulness. Okay, I will read the Pali because it sounds nice. Katame cattāro, what are the 4? This bhikkhave, the 4 bhikkhave bhikkhu is, they have this important thing, Ekāyano pasi viharati. Remain focused, body in the body. That means you investigate your understanding of the body in the body itself, your interpretation of how you visualize, how you understand or you see your body. And three things important when you do that, which is atapi, sampajano, satima. Atapi is ardent, devoted, wholehearted. You have passion to do it. I will explain more in the next slide. The next one, sampajano, is alert. That means you are awake. You are not like sleepy when you are doing it. And then mindful, you are here. Okay, I'll explain more on these 3 characteristics. But also you have to vinaya loke abhijja domanassānaṃ. Put aside all your greed and distress with reference of the world. Basically, you have to put aside your like and dislike. When you are being mindful of your body, you have to be, or feeling or mind, you have to not indulge in it or push it away or suppress it or run away of it or change it. You have to just be with it. Be with the whatever body sensation you have, whatever feeling you have, whatever mind state you have, and so on. Okay, and you do the same. He remained focused on the feelings in the feelings, mind in the mind, mental qualities in the mental qualities, and doing the same three characteristics: ardent, alert, mindful. Put aside greed and distress with reference to the world. Okay, so repeat the same thing for the feeling, mind, and mental object, which is the or sometimes better is mental qualities. The mental qualities is the Dharma here. Okay, next slide, please. So there is in other part of the sutta described more on just now the atapi sambhajano satima, which is ardent, alert, mindful. So all these are from Samyutta Nikaya. Ardent as in you put devoted the whole heart into it. Okay, especially here mentioned the fourfold right effort. Fourfold right effort is very important. This is the part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, when you practice on the Dharma, you have to always, if there is wholesome here means leading towards awakening. Okay, doesn't mean it's a good or bad. Unwholesome means not leading towards awakening. So when there's wholesome, you have to maintain it. No wholesome, you have to encourage to come up. When there is unwholesome, you have to stop it. When you have no unwholesome, you have to make sure you don't come. So fourfold right effort. So ardent is this. Alert means sensitive to what's going on, to thought, feeling, perception that's arising and passing away. Mindful is to remember, to be aware, to be what you are doing in line with the right view. Okay, the right view is to explore that whatever that we feel we have or think in your mind is filtered to our thoughts. Whatever we experience is filtered to our thoughts. Okay, so you have to in line with right view, the mindfulness. So for me, this is one angle I look at it. I put all these three together as in you are grounded in passion. That means you are really interested, really curious to understand more about yourself. Okay, Satipatthana is basically for you to understand more about yourself and your life. And this is the most important thing in the world. So you have to be really passionate about it. You have to be clear in your head and calm in your heart. Because if you are very blurry, you won't be able to, that means it can be sharp, but also calm. If your mind is not calm, then you can't. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'll try to explain. This is one way, one angle, okay? Not the best way to explain, but one way to explain about the body in the body, feeling in the feeling, and so on, okay? Because I feel that there are many ways that the Buddha teach, and I feel one way to look at this Satipatthana is through, at the bottom you will see, taints abandoned by seeing, by recognizing, okay? There are some ways, sometimes the way we see the truth is some way to get rid of our defilement. Sometimes is by restraining ourselves. I will explain all this later on, by restraining or by developing and so on. But one way is by seeing. Okay, what I mean by seeing is, if you see that your hand is on fire, you will know what to do. I don't have to tell you. If you see that you are slapping yourself, you will know what to do. I don't have to tell you what to do. So seeing is a very powerful method of solving our problems. Okay, so now body in the body is to understand our perception. One way is to understand our perception of body comes from our thought. Okay, when we feel our body sensations, we think that there is a singular, independent, permanent body. But actually, it keeps changing all the time, but we never see that aspect of it. Okay, yesterday me and today actually it keeps changing. The mind, everything is keep changing. And if you can see it keep changing, actually sometimes we think we are fat, sometimes we think we are thin. Similarly with other people's body, sometimes we think it's beautiful, sometimes we think it's ugly. Okay, so when we identify with like fat, thin, that slowly we build up a self. But actually there's no self, because When I say no self, there's no permanent non-changing self. It keeps changing all the time. But we hold on to the idea of permanency, which gives us comfort and easy to do things. Imagine, today we call Amara, tomorrow maybe Amara 2, Amara 3, you can't, you will get lost. But for convenience sake, we think it's the same Amara, but it keeps changing. Okay, next slide, please. Same about feeling in a feeling. If you look at the feeling, this one, again, we give the idea of the body. I mentioned earlier just now, when you have a sharp sensation on, let's say, your hand, immediately we think, my hand is very painful. That's how we build up this self-identification. Okay, actually, it's not, there is sensation, but it's not your body is pain. We link these two together. Okay, we create an identity. Okay, then the self is solely formed. Okay, next slide, please. Mind in the mind, I look at the emotional aspect. Quite often when we are angry or someone is angry, we link to I and angry, become I and anger becomes one thing. Actually, there is this angry thoughts that come that create this angry emotion, and the emotion actually is just energy that arises and passes away. But we make it into a solid thing, into anger as a thing, and I becomes the anger, the two equate together, and the self again is formed. Okay, all this to me indirectly is to see that there is no permanent non-changing self. Okay, it's because we hold on to the idea of a permanent non-changing self that causes all our problems. All our problems comes from my body is in pain, that person don't treat me well, I don't have enough, and so on and so on. Okay, next slide, please. Mental quality, similar. It's through our wrong understanding, like we label this person as bad, label that person as good, or this is a scary person, and so on. Actually, there's no really bad or good person. There's bad or good behavior, and it changes. A good person can have sometimes bad behavior, sometimes have good behavior, but we solidify things. Okay, so this is very rough ideas on how you can contemplate each of the different four parts of the body, feeling, mind, and mental quality. Okay, next slide, please. So one easy way is to see that this one, which I keep sharing all the time, is to keep seeing that all your emotions, whether it's sad and all that, comes from your thoughts, which means that it's created by you. And then they are together. The emotions affects the thoughts, and the thoughts affect the emotion. Okay, when you think angry thoughts, you have anger emotion, and when you have anger emotions, it will stimulate more angry thoughts, and it keeps going in the loop. This cause that, that cause this become cause, that one effect, and then this become cause, that one effect. Okay, one way to solve it, if you can see directly that you are creating it, I keep emphasizing, then you will see that you are slapping yourself and you won't continue. Another way is to aware of the body sensation or emotional sensation as just energy. And you observe, you will see that the energy will just keep coming and going, instead of getting lost in the stories of, why this person treat me badly, how come he do that and all that. Just aware of the, like if it's anger, aware of the angry energy, which part of your body is tense or angry, and look at the sensation, body sensation. Similarly, if you are afraid, if you are worried and so on, feel the part of your body that has this energy, and you will see its energy coming and going. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the final aim of all this exercise, if people ask you, is actually in the end not to be a servant to our thoughts. Okay, all of us actually are servant to our thoughts. We are led by our thoughts. If you can be not a servant by the thoughts, to the thoughts, you will be able to easier to see the real nature of yourself and also of how life works. But unfortunately, we are always tainted by our thoughts. So one way is when you don't believe your thoughts so much, or there are some exercise I will share next, then you won't get lost in the thoughts, okay? So one way for this awareness of body, feeling, mind, and Dharma, one way to look at it is when you are aware of the body, you ground yourself so that you won't be lost in thoughts. I call it grounding or discharging. And you can, this one very fast, you can, less than a minute, if you feel your body or take deep breath, immediately you will get out of your head. No matter how stressed or how lost you are in your thinking, if you are aware of your body fully, you will get out from there. Aware of your feeling by reconnecting with your innate love. Normally what we do is we always try to seek love and happiness from outside. But if you understand that you already have this love and happiness, look at babies. Like I mentioned yesterday, babies laugh 400 times a day. But when we grow adult, we only laugh 15 times a day. So baby have this natural happiness and love. So if you reconnect with that, after you are aware of your feelings and allow layers and layers of emotion to open up, then you will be able to not seek love outside. Then you won't get lost in your thoughts so much. Awareness of the mind, if you are aware of your thinking and not lost in it, if you step back, then you have this recharging feeling. Awareness of the Dharma, one way I encourage people to do is to see space instead of things, okay? That way, your mind will be not lost in thought so much. This is another way. When you keep seeing space in things, you will be able to aware more of the space between your thoughts. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is in Majjhima Nikaya, I think second sutta. It's called Sabbasawa Sutta, all the themes. It tells you different way to solve our greed, hatred, delusion. Okay. There's one way which I love the most. It's called by seeing and recognizing. This is how I share with you about the Satipatthana using this way. When you can directly see there's no real solid permanent self, then immediately there's no one with greed, hatred, delusion. Yeah, you solve the problem of greed, hatred, delusion, because the greed, hatred, delusion comes from the thinking that you have a self and I. And if you can see directly that your self that you create is an illusion created by you, then you solve it directly. Anyway, there are other ways. I go through very quickly because these are in different parts of the sutta where Buddha teach other way. By restraining, one way is you see that greed, hatred, delusion is not good. You see that disadvantages and you suppress them. By using is you contemplate. For monks, like when we wear the robe, we contemplate it's just for protection, it's not for beauty and so on. And by enduring is when, let's say mosquito bite you, you don't get angry, you don't get upset. When people scold you, you don't get upset. That's by enduring. That's one way to practice. By avoiding is you stay away from things that can make you create, stimulate you to have greed, hatred, delusion. By removing is every time when you have greed, hatred, delusion, you remove it out. By developing is you develop 7 factors of enlightenment, will make your mind more pure so that greed, hatred, delusion doesn't stick onto you. I won't go into the 7 factors here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so for each of the practice of the body, feeling, mind, and mental qualities, you have to do internal, external. Okay, so Buddha says, iti ajatam wa kaye kayanupassi is the viharati is body in the body. You have to do it internally, then bahida, externally, kaye kayanupassi viharati, then ajata bahida wa kaye kayanupassi viharati, internal and external. So for each of the practice, you have to do internally, externally, internally, and externally for the body. And then also you have to do samudaya dhammanupasi wa kayasmin viharati, vaya dhammanupasi wa kayasmin viharati. You have to do it on understanding the the origination, and then the passing away, and then the origin and passing away. Okay, so I'll read the English one. In this way, he remains focused internally on the body in and of itself, externally on the body in and of itself, both internally and externally on the body in and of itself, and remain focused on the phenomenon of origination with regard to the body, on the phenomenon of passing away with regard to the body, and on the phenomenon of origination and passing away with regard to the body. Or is mindfulness that this body is maintained to the extent of knowledge or remembrance. That means he all the while focused on the body, and he remains independent and sustained to anything in the world. He's not distracted by other things. This is how he should do. So to make it easy for you, actually, two parts here. Okay, there's an internal, external, and there's a time factor, how it arises and pass away. And I will explain about, next slide, please, the internal, external. So internal, external is space. Okay, don't get worried about just now the detailed word. So basically, in simple thing is, you have to contemplate in the space angle and the time angle. The space angle is when I, internal, appears, the world, external, appears. Okay, this one, people who play computer games are more familiar. When you walk into a room in the internet room or Zoom room, now you walk in, then the room appear. So actually, when you appear, then only you have the world. When you disappear, there's no world. Okay, without you, there's no external world. So for the other way is the same. When the external world appears, when you see that there's a world around you, then only you have the identity of the I. Without the external world, you can't have this feeling, your existence of the I. Okay, so internal and external is dependently arises. There is no separation, no duality. The world that you observe and you as the observer comes together. But as we grow up, we have this idea of me here and the world out there. Baby actually don't have much idea of this separation. But when we grow up, we are taught you are Amara, I am daddy, this is mommy, and so on, and the separation comes. Okay, it's conventional, it's useful in the world, but it causes us to have a separation between external and internal. We and the world actually arises together. When you see that, then you can see there's no real solid permanent self that is either you or external or internal. There's no permanent solid self. It's just experience that arises all the time. Okay, I'll go more into it in the next slide. Next slide, please. So from external, how your internal is formed is we normally perceive ourselves internal using concepts, opinions constructed from the world external out there. Okay, how to solve this is you can ask yourself who is perceiving this self. Okay, example is of external seeing internal is my perception of myself changes when I'm with different people. In front of my father, I'm a son. It can be a good son or a bad son and so on. It keeps changing. In front of my friends, I'm a friend, a good friend or a bad friend, and so on. So our identity, our self changes depending on the external. So we are being influenced or basically tainted by the external environments, our identity of the self. So the identity of the self is dependent on the external world. So again, I want to emphasize there is no real solid permanent self. This self keeps changing. Okay, next slide, please. This is internal to external. You perceive your world external using your own self-created opinions and concept. When you perceive the world, you can also ask yourself who is perceiving the world. Example is how internal see external. Let's use example of Celine and Nick as a couple, husband and wife. Okay, so my perception of Celine and Nick's perception of Celine is different. Nick only sees Nick's perception of Celine. I only see my perception of Celine, although both of us are seeing the same external person. So internal I exists depending on external world. Again, no real solid permanent self. Okay, next slide, please. Next one is the time. Okay. Each moment of your thought every moment is constructed from many different memories of the past and your projection of the future. An example is, let's say when you're eating whatever, maybe wonton noodle, whatever noodle, maybe you have thoughts of your mother making the noodle for you. It might surface and influence your experience now with your current eating of noodle, and also projection of your future. Maybe you might thinking, next time, maybe I might be eating alone when I'm old. So all these different thoughts create your current experience. And we think that there is a self-experiencing. It's just different thoughts, past, future, present, come together to create your current experience. So the now is made up of many past moments, future moments, and present moments. And when this sees, another different memories and projection are surface. So there's no solid thing there. It's just combination of different memories and projection. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now how it can help us to see again, back to there's no permanent I. In the beginning, I led you through the exercise for each of the mindfulness body, feeling, mind, and mental quality. I will go through again. Just now we did mindfulness of breathing. When you're aware of your breath, you will be able to see that actually it's impermanent. Sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short, and so on. It's not fixed, and it keeps changing. This breath in, then it's gone already, then next breath. And it's unsatisfactory because you can't control it. It's not, you can't make it a certain way. It breathes by itself. There's no real permanent solid self. There's no you breathing. Breathing occurs without the breather. It's automatic. Actually, this is the best way to contemplate that there is no you breathing. There is no self. It's just breathing by itself. The four posture, walking, standing, sitting, lying down, again, it's just processes that's moving. There's no self in that sense. Another one is when you do all the movement with full awareness, you will also see its processes. Next one, the foulness we did, the bodily parts. You can ask yourself which part is you. Is the hair you, the eyes you, and so on, or the skin you? Actually, some biologists say that we are actually an organization of many entities. Each cell in our body actually can function as an entity by itself. 4 elements, you can contemplate on the earth, water, fire, wind, which characteristic is you. We are just made up of 4 different elements. And the 9 channel ground, which we didn't do, is to contemplate on the different decomposition of the body, so that you see that there is no you in the body, because the body will decompose one day. Okay, next slide. On the feeling, one easy way is to see that when you feel a pleasant feeling, the text says the bhikkhu understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. So actually, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant feeling, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling, the I comes to existence after the interpretation of the feeling. When you have this feeling of pleasant or unpleasant, then the I comes in. I feel pleasant or unpleasant. So it comes with first the labeling of the experience, then the identity comes in. Okay. I won't go the rest because it's similar. Worldly pleasant and unworldly pleasant. Unworldly means spiritual, because you have pleasant feeling coming from, let's say you get some material things. You also have pleasant feeling from meditation, from the spiritual. Okay. You also have unpleasant feeling from your spiritual struggle and from your material struggle. Okay, next slide. Okay, I like this. This is okay. Something easier for us to feel. So all feelings are friendly signs to let you know something. Okay, basically to let you know what's going on in your head. So when you have fear, it means that we are ruminating over scary phenomena. We keep going over and over and over again. So it's just, don't take your emotions as something bad. See it as an indicator that you're not doing something right. Okay, fear means you keep thinking over and over again over scary phenomena. Basically, you're scaring yourself. Stress means you're running the mind very fast. You're revving up the mind. It's like a car where you press the brake and press the accelerator very fast. Okay, that's what you're doing in your mind. Pressure means you're trying too hard in your mind. You're thinking too hard. Worry means you're imagining the negative future, which will never happen because your imagination is powerful. Anger means you're creating irritating scenarios in your mind. But actually, you don't have to know your content of your thoughts. If you have any of the negative feelings, you know that your mind is not on the right track. You shouldn't believe what your thoughts tell you. Okay, next slide, please. So awareness, mindfulness help as a signpost to see that every emotion that you have that's less than total joy, excitement, and enthusiasm is a signpost, a red flag, leading you to your opinions, belief, and judgment. Okay. Every time when you have judgment, you are trapped in your, tainted by your judgment, belief, opinion, by your small anger that you look in the world, you will have negative emotions. So that's a signpost. If you have any negative emotions, means you are trapped in your opinions, beliefs, judgments. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we have finished feelings. Now mind. Mind, how we describe, I'll just read through, okay? When the mind is passion, he discerns that the mind has passion. That means when your mind has passion, it knows. Without passion, it discerns the mind without passion. When the mind has aversion, he discerns the mind has aversion. When the mind is without aversion, he discerns the mind without aversion. When the mind has delusion, he discerns his delusion. Without delusion, he discerns the mind without delusion. So you know what's happening in your mind. When the mind is contracted, very narrow, you know it's contracted. When the mind is scattered, you are distracted, you know it's distracted. When the mind is enlarged, you expand your mind, you know. It's not enlarged, you know. When the mind is surpassed, that means you go beyond your limited mind, you know. Unsurpassed, you know. It's concentrated, you are focused, you know. It's not concentrated, he knows. Release, this one is liberated. When your mind is liberated, you know. When it's not liberated, he knows. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, awareness of the Dharma is a bit more complicated. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 different parts. First, 5 hindrances, which is you know when you have sensual desire, you know when you have ill will, you know you have a stalk and torpor, which is sleepiness, you know you have restlessness, and you know you have doubt. Okay, so these are the 5 hindrances, the Dharma part of the 5 hindrances. The doubt is about triple gem, including doubt about the practice. Okay, when any of these hindrances arise, you know. When it goes away, you know. Okay, actually, when you are able to know to step back, it won't affect you anymore. Like if you have sleepiness, if you're aware of the sleepiness, it won't affect you that much. In fact, the sleepiness will go away. It's only that we get lost in it, then we will be trapped by it. 5 aggregates, you are aware that each of these is just a process. We are made out of 5 different processes, so there's no an entity. We are made out of body, which is a process that keeps changing. We are made out of feeling, which is a process also. We are made out of mental perception, it's a process of perceiving things. Mental formation, when we see something, we make up a story, it's a process. And consciousness, the awareness is also a process. So there's no entity per se. And you can aware of the origin and the experience of all this process. The next one, 6 bases. I will use one example, maybe ear easier. You understand when, because of ear consciousness and sound comes together, both come together, then you hear something, okay? And you create a story. Maybe the story of someone scolding you and so on. It's because you have this consciousness and the sound coming, and then you two together, you create a story found there. So you understand how this story comes and how this story disappears. Every time this ear consciousness and the sound comes. Same with the other senses, the other bases. the 7 enlightenment factors is to also know when the factor is there, when it's not there, how to make the factors arise more. Okay, these 7 factors will help us towards awakening. Mindfulness, we keep talking just now, all this, the whole thing is about mindfulness. Investigation of the Dharma is your passion to really understand about how your life works. Energy is your effort or energy you put in. Rapture is the joy, when you see the Dharma. Actually, when you investigate the Dharma and you see, when you can actually see that you are the own self who created all your experience, there's a lot of joy comes in, because now you realize that the world, you don't have to control the world anymore. So there will be a certain amount of rapture, and then tranquility, you have peacefulness when you understand how life works. Your mind will be more focused, more concentrated, and more equanimous. So these 7 factors will get more and more as you contemplate on the Dharma. Next slide, please. Okay, we are almost the end. The level of awareness, although this is not mentioned in Satipatthana Sutta directly, but actually there is how we practice awareness is there's normal awareness. Like now, you know, because you have awareness, you can listen to what I'm saying. There is a meditative awareness, which I keep sharing with you all, that is important, is like now you hear me speaking, but you also know that you hear me speaking. I call it third party, as in you see me in the video, in the screen, but you also know that you are seeing me. Okay, so that you can step out from your daily experience. This is useful so that when you are lost in your thoughts, you know you are lost in your thoughts. You don't get trapped in your thoughts or your feelings. So this is there's a term they call meditative awareness. More on, I think Mahayana, Vajrayana use it, but it's a term that is something that we need to do in doesn't matter which sect you are in. Okay, and the last one, pure or non-conceptual awareness, is in the Theravada, maybe we call it the functional mind of the Arahat, where you just know, aware of things, you don't add story. Now, for example, when we hear something, we will add, oh, this person talked bad about me, or this person is praising me, and so on. When you have this non-conceptual awareness, in Theravada, we call it the functional mind. We just, sound comes, we just know, and then that's it. We don't have second thought. We see something, and then that's it. There's no extra story, extra thought. That's where we get trapped in the world, when we have extra story, extra thoughts. That's how we get trapped in this samsara, when we have extra story, extra thoughts. Next slide, please. Okay, this one I shared yesterday, which I want to share again, that if you look at using awareness, this is, to me, is a shortcut for practice. If you look and aware of your current circumstances, you will know your current state of mind. You don't even need to know the content. If you are sad, means you are having sad thoughts, you are in a sad state of mind. What to do? You just don't have to believe your thoughts, or if you can't, then just go for a walk or whatever. You just can't continue this state of mind. Okay, so by looking at your current circumstances, you will know your current state of mind. One Chan master used this 见经自心, 见到你的境界, 你知道你的心. When you see your circumstances, you will know your current state of mind. So to me, this is very useful in your daily life. If you find yourself feeling down or sad, it means that your mind is running a lot of negative thoughts. So you don't continue around this thought. Okay. Actually, we are quite smart. If you can see you're slapping yourself, we won't continue. You don't even have to tell yourself what to do. Okay, I think one more slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Awareness also helps us to be with whatever that's happening. So when you are being able to be whatever that's happening, then only you can create what is not yet happened. Only by accepting what's happening to you at this moment, you can create what is yet to happen in the next moment. Okay, so it's important for you to, if you want your current situation to change, first you got to accept what's happening to you now, because you cannot control. If it's raining now, you cannot change the weather. But if you can accept that it's raining, then you can use the umbrella. So this is another important principle. Okay, so it's you have to accept what you have now. 先接收事实，然后事实让事实变化。So only when you can accept, then you can allow the things to change. Next slide. I think we will stop here. Okay, I won't go to the next slide. I'll let you all to have questions. Any questions? Bing-Sing, can you move to the next few slides? I just want to see what else I have. Okay, no need. This one. Next one. Okay, no need. Next one. Okay, not so important. Okay, we finished with the slides. We don't need the slides. Bing-Sing, you can close the slide. Yeah. Any questions? Sorry, today a bit technical. You might not be able to digest everything, but I hope you'll plant a seed. If anyone have any questions, you can ask. Basically, I want to summarize that the oh, okay. Someone has some question. That's good. Okay, that means at least someone understands something. Okay. Okay. Just a side joke to keep it lighthearted. I remember in my first year university, there's one time after a physics lecture, I went to ask the lecturer some questions, and when I came back, all my classmates was looking at me very wide-eyed, say, "You can understand what he said enough to ask questions?" Anyway, okay. What's the question is, what is the relationship between anicca and anatta? Okay. Basically, what's the relationship between impermanence and non-self? Non-self is no permanent change, non-changing self. Okay, very close. If you can understand everything is changing, then you can move towards the idea of non-self. Because if you can see that yesterday Nyaninda and today's Nyaninda is different, and tomorrow's Nyaninda is different, then you can, on your way to grasp the idea of there is no permanent non-changing self. And this is very important. It will change your entire life. Because I always use this example that, let's say if yesterday Amara were to beat me up, and today I'm angry, have a grudge with Amara, not right, because yesterday's Amara and today's Amara is not 100% the same. Yesterday's Nyaninda were beating up, and today's Nyaninda is not 100% the same. It's related, which means that today's Amara and yesterday's is related. So she might beat me up again. I have to be careful. That's correct. So if you really understand anicca, which leads to anatta, your life will be much happier because you have no grudge. Okay, another question. Bhante, can you elaborate what is non-wholesome and non-unwholesome thoughts? No, I don't know what you mean by, okay, wholesome and unwholesome is, just now I explained, in Buddhism, wholesome and unwholesome, wholesome means those that leads you towards awakening, awakening to the reality of life, okay? Reality of life as in everything is impermanent, everything is not fully satisfying, everything has no permanent self. If it leads you towards that, that's wholesome. If it doesn't, it's unwholesome. And of course, leads you to see that everything you experience is created by your thoughts. Okay. Any other questions? Good. There are people who understand enough to ask questions. Bhante, can I say because of dependent on conditionality, things have to change? Yes, because every single moment conditions change. So every single thing in the world exists depending on conditionality. So nothing remains the same. In fact, there's a saying that there's one thing that never change, and that's the law of change, which means everything change. Okay. One other question. Bhante, how can we see that there's no duality via the awareness in breathing? How can we see? Okay, there is, when you do the breathing, your short and long is actually, it's a duality created by you. If you're breathing like maybe this much, you call it long, then after that, when you have a longer one, that one will become short. Yeah, so actually, we always live in a world of self-created duality, and we think it's real. Like for example, let's say this thing, when you compare with this is very long, this is short. But if you take another thing, which is much longer, you can't see, much taller, then this thing will be short. So our short, long, ugly, beautiful, bad, good, it's all very subjective, and we think it's fixed. Okay, when you can see that, you slowly break through your duality. Okay, good questions. What's the next question? But from just now sharing, can we say that only can deduce from circumstances to know mind state and not no direct observe of the mind? Oh no, you can directly observe your mind, of course. Okay, you directly, if your mind is sad, you can observe your mind is down, you can directly observe. But what I'm saying is, most of us, if we are angry, if we are sad, we immediately blame the outside situation. This joker, this idiot is the one who made me angry, or this situation, or my bad circumstances, or my stupid government, and so on. We very fast, we blame what's happening from outside. What I'm trying to tell you is, next time, please see what's happening in your mind that create your current situation. Okay, so yes, if you can directly look at your mind, great. Next question. Let's say a businessman thinking he's poor, even though he has enough money for food and living, he will keep looking for money and stingy. The condition he sees not necessarily true, and only his thoughts. Correct. Yes, right. Yeah. A person can have a lot of money, can be very poor. A person can have very little money, can be very rich. Anyway, rich and poor, it's all in our mind. It's not to do with the material. So in the sense, that's why I keep emphasizing, we don't live, actually, it might sound frightening, but actually it's not frightening if you can understand it. We don't live in the world, we live in our mind or thought created world. Because we can have lots and lots of money, if we think we are poor, we are poor. Okay, so this is a very important thing, because you can live in a, I just was sharing with them, to me, Malaysia is the best country in the world always. No matter what happens with a clown running the countries, we are always the best country in the world. But it also depends on your mindset. You know, you can look at the negative sides and think we are in terrible condition. So we live in our thinking of the world. Next, how do you meditate according to the 4 foundations of mindfulness? Do you choose a meditation object, or you go through all the 4 foundations? You have to choose an object to start off, easier, okay? Let's say the breath, to calm the mind down. But after that, you got to develop insight, okay? I feel, okay, this is my personal opinion, okay, that the fastest way to develop insight is back to just now I shared with you, that all your experience, all your circumstances comes from your thought creation. If you can keep seeing that, then you can keep seeing that your world, the whole world that you live in, is nothing but a dream created by your thoughts, including yourself. Is your identity of yourself is a dream illusion created by a thought. Dream illusion doesn't mean nothing. You have to be very careful. In your dream, it can be very frightening if monsters chase you. Okay, so if you can see this, then you can see that there is no real solid self. Then you break through the idea of you you realize the reality of anatta, and that's the key awakening part. Because if you are not limited to this body, this mind, then you are free. The problem is we are limited to this self. So you have, my body is painful, this person spoiled my reputation, I don't have enough money, I am sick, and so on, because you are limited to this body and this self. When you break through this illusionary created self, all problems, all sufferings, everything solved. Okay, I think you all have very good questions. Any other?
Bhante?
Yeah.
Yeah, just wondering, I mean, why is it in this sutta that the Buddha gave the assurance that one can attain within 7 days,
Yes.
7 months, 7 years?
Yeah.
Why is it only in this sutta, not any other?
I guess maybe because I don't really know, but I can only guess that this is the most direct way. Of course, there are many other suttas that support, as in explain parts of this sutta. Okay, but only in this sutta, the Buddha says this. The only thing I can think is because by understanding yourself, your body, feeling, mind, and mental perception, then you know everything about you and the world. And the world is created by you anyway. So by understanding this self, you understand the whole world. So yeah, someone asks how to reduce certain kind of desire that cause unhappiness or dissatisfaction. Again, I now only have a very simple solution to everything. You please see that your desire that cause unhappiness or dissatisfaction comes from your thoughts, which means it's created by you. If you really sit down and contemplate on this, it's basically, I'm telling you that you are slapping yourself. When you see that you are slapping yourself, how to stop from slapping yourself? You don't have to ask me. It's like, if you see that your hand is in the fire, how to take my hand out from the fire? You know what to do. It's just that you didn't see you are slapping yourself. So if you can see that all your things that cause you unhappiness and so on comes from your thoughts, you won't continue with the thought. But you really have to explore it. Don't believe me. Okay. Okay. Someone asks another question. Bhante, what does one actually do when he remains focused, ardent, alert, and mindful? Possible to provide a short example, description of what actually goes on in the mindfulness awareness practice? Okay. Again, I give you, normally what happens is mindfulness awareness, actually when you're aware of your breath, I'm talking about conventional, you just know your breath. When you know your feeling, you just be aware of the feeling. But to use it on what I shared with you just now is, next time when you are angry or sad, this I keep saying that in a day for you especially, lay people, you would have many emotions up and down, especially negative emotions. Okay. The next time when you have a negative emotions, let's say anger or sadness or disappointment or stress, don't get upset. Be very, very happy to see that this is the opportunity for you to understand the Dharma. So now be passionate, ardent, devoted to see where does this emotion come from. Okay. Be alert to see where does this emotion come from. Be mindful. Your goal is to, the mindful is to look at it, investigate to see where does this emotion come from. And you will see that it comes from your angry thinking or sad thinking and so on. You are making yourself angry, or you are scaring yourself, or you are stressing yourself. Okay. Next question. Oh, good. Today, many questions. What is the best way to react if joining a group of friends who keeping on complaining, condemn the system, the government, the surrounding happening? You don't have to be with them. Okay. If you still want to be with them, don't get affected by them. If you get affected by them, then see that your being affected by them is through your thoughts. Then use it as to learn Dharma. Okay, you can choose not to be with them, be with people who talk more on Dharma. But if you have no choice, you have to be with them. Maybe they are close friends, or I don't know, maybe family members. Then use it as opportunity to learn Dharma. Every time you are affected by them, see that it's nothing to do with them. It's because you have start thinking what they are thinking, and you will feel what they feel. Very good opportunity again to learn the Dharma. Okay, next question. Thank you, Bhante. Similarly to happy feelings, I have to refer to. Oh, okay, yeah. Her question before that was remain focused, mindful on our how to practice mindfulness awareness with the ardent, alert, mindful. Yes, same. When we are happy, it doesn't come from something outside. We think it from the outside. It's from our thoughts or no thoughts. We think that when we walk in the park, we get calm and happy. Actually, it's because when you walk in the park, you don't continue thinking your negative thoughts. So you become happy and more relaxed. It's again back to your thoughts. You become happy, same. When you see something you like, you have a lot of thinking. I love this thing. I'm trying very long to get it. Finally, I get it. All these thoughts makes you have this emotion come out. Without that thing, also you can create the emotions if you want to. Okay, you can try. Okay.
There's one more question of thought there. It is how to reduce certain kind of desire that causes unhappiness or dissatisfaction.
Yeah, I sort of answered that as in how to, it's by seeing that your desire is your thought, and it's a thought that create this desire, it's a thought that create to want to get something that cause you unhappiness or dissatisfaction. So again, if you can see that your thought is causing you problem, you won't continue the thought. When I say you won't continue, I'm not asking you to stop the thought. I'm asking you, keep saying that to see that you are slapping yourself. It's a different to tell you to stop slapping yourself and to ask you to see that you're stopping yourself. If you are slapping yourself. If you see that you're slapping yourself, you don't need effort to stop slapping yourself. If I ask you to stop slapping yourself, then you have to make effort and so on. Okay, I think there's one. Good evening, Bhante. As I identify less of myself and the context, I also felt I no longer empathize others as much as I used to. May I know how I can reconcile with this compassion? Oh, that means you didn't get it right. When we don't identify with the self more, we feel more for other people because we feel how they were trapped with the identity of the self. We feel more compassionate about other people. In fact, when people do bad things, we don't have that much anger because we understand that they have a wrong understanding of life. That's why they are trapped in what they do. They think that is right because they think that to protect their self and so on, but the self don't exist. Okay, so we will have more compassion if you really understand. Someone asked to reduce desire. One of the ways to see what you have now and not target on what you don't have. Just my sharing. Yeah. If you appreciate what you have, which we don't, unfortunately, most of us, somehow, if you appreciate what you have instead of looking at what you don't have, yeah, life much happier. Okay, maybe last question. Okay, two more, I think. Bhante, good evening. When practicing body vipassana, I do not exactly follow the sequence of the 32 parts as per the sutta, but I start with the head down till the toes, dissecting each part as I go downwards. Your advice, please. To me, no problem, as long as you manage to get the calm mind and manage to, in the end, help you to see anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's good. Second question, that is as far as I go for the body vipassana and not proceeding to the graveyard contemplation. I do not think I want to proceed with that. Your comment, please. I didn't do graveyard contemplation, so not necessary you have to do. Last question, awareness of Dharma, seeing space instead of things, how to practice this? Oh, this is one, okay, don't get a wrong idea that awareness of Dharma, you must see space. I'm just giving one way that you help you to change your mindset, your mental quality. Because all of us keep looking at things. Then you look at solid, becomes everything, you make things too real. What we experience is actually our thoughts created world, which is not real. So one way is, if you keep looking at space, you won't hold on to things so much. And then also easier for you to look at space between your thoughts. Okay, so how to do it is, when you see things, normally when you walk into a room, immediately you see people and things. Now you look at space instead. And your thoughts, normally we are aware of our thoughts. Now we are aware of the space between thoughts instead. Just for a short while every day. When you read things, instead of just reading the characters, look at the space between characters. Okay, I think we've finished here. Not too late for everyone. We will share merits. Okay. Hope you all have at least learned something, or at least get a plant seed. Okay, we will share merits with all the devas, dharma protectors, guardian deities, or sentient beings. Make aspiration, always with the wise, avoid the foolish, be free from greed, hatred, delusion. At the end, again, share merits with all beings, wishing all beings have equal share merits. Etawata ca amehi sampadang punya sampadang sabe dewa numodantu sabba sampati siddhiyā. Etawata ca amehi sampadang punya sampadang sabe buta numodantu sabba sampati siddhiyā. Etawata ca amehi sampadang punya sampadang sabe satta numodantu sabba sampati siddhiyā. Idame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idame nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idame punyang asawa kaya wahang hotu. Idame punyang nibbānassa pacayo hotu. Mama punya bagang sabba sattānaṃ pajema. Te sabe me samam punya bagang labantu. Sadhu, 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 sukhi hotu. Okay, just one thing I come to my mind is, for those of you who are interested in the past episodes of this, you can always go to the recording in YouTube. You go to YouTube, you type my name or Buddhist Missionary Society, you will see a playlist of all the past recordings. Okay. Good night. Thanks for everyone.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.